thanks for joining us. It's your girl Fiona, back here to talk all things good and not so good in the world of motherhood. Joining me for a chat, though, is the wonderful Shona.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you. We got the oh-so-wise Melody.
Hi.
Good to see you. And the stunning Mary Ellen.
Hi.
Always looking fabulous in that red. You know I love some
thank
red.
you.
But coming up, we get some handy tips on how to enjoy retail therapy with your kids in tow. Dynamic duo Gia and Olive will be whipping up a breakfast berry smoothie, and one of Australia's leading holistic medical practitioners, Dr. Ron Ehrlich, is here to give us the lowdown on how to stress less. So keep it locked right here for that and so much more. But first, an article in the UK Telegraph stated that on average, stay-at-home mums are asked nearly 300 questions a day by their little cherubs. In fact, the study conducted by littlewoods.com showed that mums face more than 12 hours a day of question time, and 4-year-old girls, God bless them, are the most inquisitive.
So how many questions a day are you having then?
Look, to be honest, my girls, I have time to speak to them and talk to them and answer their questions, and I think that's what the thing is like. You need to be able to sit down and answer the questions, but if you can't, they're going to keep asking you those questions.
That's the issue, exactly.
Actually, I was just saying, because you've got twin 4-year-old
Twin
girls.
4-year-olds, they're very inquisitive. They're just like their mum, right? Very inquisitive. They want to know everything. I know the other day she was asking how come she can't breastfeed Oceana. And I said, I just had to pause, turn around and look back, and I said, because once you have a child, you'll be able to breastfeed on your own. But now, let's leave the breastfeeding to mummy. What do you say? You know, Shona, you've got teenage boys. Has the questions changed over the years, or are they even speaking?
Oh, well, yeah, I was going to say, they don't even speak now, but no, that's not true. The questions have got more complex.
Yes.
And I actually now throw it back onto them and say, well, I think you need to
So you pass the buck. They always come to you, or do they go to Gary?
Yeah, it depends. If it's car-related or man-related, they go to him. If it's relationships or scripture or stuff like that, they come to me.
Talking about scripture, though, as a Christian, I think God wants us to ask questions.
Absolutely.
And question our faith. What do you think, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, you know, kids, they ask, among all the strange and bizarre questions that they ask, you know, they really are some of the most intelligent beings on the planet, I think, because they do ask the really important questions. And I think, like in my own personal life, I know I used to ask really big questions about God, but now that I'm older and maybe wiser or maybe just a little bit more indoctrinated or something, I don't ask those questions anymore, and I don't feel that, I don't really want to ask them either, because it would like challenge my belief system too much. So I think children can actually be really quite challenging and, you know, sort of
make you want to do your research, maybe.
Exactly.
And I think even as adults, we ask questions still. I know when you're talking to God, you know, you're asking, why did this happen? What did this happen? And you've got to go to the Bible, I guess, and reflect and see the answers for yourself, maybe sometimes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful stage with the kids asking that questions. I mean, I know sometimes it gets really annoying, but it's just so beautiful because you're learning about everything. And so, yeah, with the faith as well, you're just learning about everything.
And you're learning it through their eyes again.
Yeah.
And it was really good for me because I didn't grow up in the church. So for me to actually go through a lot of the Bible stories with the boys, I learned a whole lot of stuff. And one of the things I remember saying to the boys, and still do say to them, if somebody tells you something, it doesn't matter whether it's scripture or whether it's medical or what it is, you need to go and research it for yourself. Go and look back at it, go and read about it, go and find out about it for yourself.
I have to agree, because I don't think God wants us just to accept everything blindly.
No.
We need to definitely do our research and, you know, use your brain. That's why God gave it to us. If you never know, if you never ask, you'll never know. So be sure to keep asking. But I just like to give props to Google, because they are helping us parents out in the process. But next, we go from endless questions with kids to the endless shopping aisles with the kids. How many times have you set out to get some groceries with your beloved kids in tow, only to abort mission and trolley mid-aisle due to your child's antics, or worse yet, a full-blown meltdown? Oh, the joy. Well, take note, Bounce Back Parenting has got 13 tips on how to make shopping with kids more fun. Mary Ellen, break it down for us.
All right, I'm going to give you the top 3, okay?
Yeah, do that.
Number 1, prepare beforehand. So know what you need to buy, know how much time you have, and let your kids know, this is what we need to buy and this is how much time we have. So set your expectations, right? The next one is to give them jobs while you're in the shopping centre. So can you help mummy get the onions? Can you help mummy find a sale or something? Keep them, involved with what's happening. And the third one is to turn it into a game. Now, this can sort of come in many different forms, whether it's I Spy, whether it's okay, we only have 10 minutes, we're going to rush in and rush out, make it really fast-paced and things. But yeah, I thought they were really cool tips because
that's a great tip. I think it's important about the time. Do you find that taking them out for long trips it can be daunting? I think it's important to keep it short when you do take your kids shopping. I don't know, Shona?
Oh, I just made sure mine were really well fed.
Oh, yeah.
There is nothing worse than getting to that chip and lolly aisle and you've got a 3-year-old all over the ground, a blubbering mess, honestly.
I think they said that in the article, though, to make sure they're fed.
Well, not only that, but Woolworths and Harris Farms do it now where you can actually, they've got like food available.
Yes.
Yeah, Woolworths.
So that's how we do it.
Come on, a banana?
No.
My child did not want a banana in the supermarket.
This is how bad. We must be Islander fobs because we go back and get some bananas. Next thing you know, I'm like in the middle of the bread aisle and Eden's like, Mum, I need another banana. So I'm pushing back the trolley to go get some bananas.
Yeah, it's highlight of this day. It's like, I get a banana.
Yeah.
And he stays and
think it's
eats
great.
it. And it's really good. But I've got tip 14 as well, like from online
Hit us with it.
shopping.
Online
Oh, yes.
I think a lot of mums have resorted to online shopping. Are you
Absolutely.
doing that now, or do you take Elliot with you?
Well, we do kind of, so we do all the shopping online and then we go pick it up from the shopping center. So it's really, it doesn't take a few minutes and it's done.
See, my question is though, why is shopping with your kids so stereotypically difficult? Like, I'm not a mum. I don't understand. What is it about going to the shopping centre that makes them act out so badly? You know,
Because they don't get what they want.
So is it just they're just kind of like selfish little
No,
things?
I
or-
think it depends. I have the discussion with my child. This is what we're going to get, and they help me. Like how the tip said, point out the items that you need and let your kids be involved. That's what I do with my children. And we feed them. We definitely make sure they're fit and we bring water bottles. And I also do we'll go to the park after if you're good. And if you're not, we're going straight back home. But I have left the trolley in the mid-aisle
done that
and
too.
walked out.
Yeah.
as well.
It's probably just a bored thing because, you know, there's all these things, all this bright lights, all this
bright,
stuff,
shiny things.
and they can't touch anything.
Yeah. I used to give the boys some money, like they would get their pocket money, like 50 cents or whatever. Back in the day, that was a bit of money, and that was theirs to spend.
Yes.
Or, you know, today you could give them a little coupon or something and say entitled to one thing to the value of, just so that it also taught them the value of money and how to use money.
Yeah, and it just doesn't come out of that plastic card that Mum keeps for them.
Yeah, because they don't learn anything that way.
Yeah, there's some great tips there, I think, in, I think it's backgroundparenting.com. So check that out. 13 tips. We would love to hear what tips you have for shopping with the crew. Just share with us on our social media pages. But now, Gia and Olive are hooking us up with a refreshing breakfast berry smoothie. Check this out.
Hi, I'm Moses, and I'm making a berry smoothie.
That's awesome! Do you know who this little guy is? This is Olive's little brother. He was excited. He just turned 3, so we thought we'd let him have a turn on being on the show and see how he goes. Is that right? Tell them how excited you are.
I'm excited.
You're excited? What are we making?
Strawberry smoothie.
A berry smoothie, yeah?
A berry smoothie.
A berry smoothie. So I need you to help me. Can you help me pull this in there? It's heavy. Let's do it together. Oh, 3 cups of mixed berries. It's 450 grams of berries. This breakfast smoothie on the go. This is what I like to call it. We're using coconut yogurt, and that's 450 grams as well. What's this? Can you tell me what that is?
Oats.
Oats. We're going to put some oats in there. Okay, so 25 grams of oats. Can you put that in there? Good work. And we're going to use, this is just half a cup of soy milk. Do you want to put the milk in there? Half a cup of soy milk. Whoa, yeah, good work. And we're going to put the honey in there, 2 tablespoons of honey. And there you have it. That is your breakfast smoothie. The kids absolutely love these smoothies that I make them. I believe that children don't get enough freshness into their diet, and I think a smoothie is the best way to get freshness into your child. Like, you can just add greens in there and they wouldn't even know it. If you put banana and a bit of greens and some coconut yogurt or some milk and oats and berries, your children won't even know. Add a little bit of honey for sweetness for them, and then there you go. They'll drink the whole thing. Moses usually comes back for more, don't you? Let's go. Let's blend this. He loves smoothies, don't you? Okay, ready? Don't be afraid to use any banana, LSA, add more oats, add a little bit more milk if you want it runny, or if you want to stretch it out a bit for more kids, say you've got more children in the family. Let's try, and you can tell us how delicious it is, okay? There you go. It's like ice cream, isn't it? We have our delicious breakfast smoothie. Do you want to try some anyway and tell us what it tastes like?
It's yummy.
Oh, yes! You've got Olive's job. Enjoy our breakfast recipe. If you want any more recipes, please go to our website on thetabletv.com, or you can follow us on Facebook on The Table TV Show and watch all the recipes we've got there. They're really healthy recipes for kids and families.
In there.
Yes, there is.
That must have been yum, because Moses doesn't lie. For more nutritious, easy-to-make recipes, we are giving away copies of this Everyday Essentials cookbook. To get your copy, email us with your name, postal address, and just say you want the Everyday Essentials cookbook. We'll post it out for free. The deets are on the screen. hello@mumsatthetable.com. But now, how often are your kids keeping active? Research tells us that physical activity leads to better heart health, reduces obesity, and decreases the risk of developing diabetes. But a report card that was released by Participation indicated that only 35% of 5 to 17-year-olds are getting the recommended amount of physical activity, which means the rest of us aren't. So, Shona, how did you encourage physical activity with your kids growing up?
Look, we took them swimming, they had sports. Joshua was a great one. He wanted to play soccer when he was about 7 or 8. And so we took him down to the soccer field on a Sunday, and he spent the whole time with his hands in his pockets walking up and down the field talking. So that's about as active as we got.
Mary, walk.
What about you, Mary Ellen? Growing up, were you active?
I did swimming lessons as well.
Yes.
I never did a team sport though, and that's something that I really wish I had done as a child. I guess, Mum, having 3 girls, it's not necessarily the first thing you think of. Boys, you go to soccer and you do all that stuff. But
Yes.
yeah, so I was fairly active, but I never sort of participated in that
why do you
way.
want to do a team sport?
I just think that people that do team sports are really socially adept. They're really good at kind of, engaging with other people and just kind of like the banter thing. I've never been good at that. I'm a bit socially awkward. I just think it would have helped me, with my confidence and stuff, more so than even the physical side of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But do you think that this research is... I think, millennials in particular are quite conscious about health and things now, So
Yeah.
do you think it's correct in saying that, that a lot of us are not even getting our kids to be active and all that kind of thing? I tend to disagree.
I think... There definitely is more of a swing towards the healthy lifestyle thing these days. But I think the reality is, especially for 13 to 17-year-olds, is that high school, you've got 4 hours of homework every night.
Yes.
To actually fit in the exercise is a challenge. And sport at school might be once a week, twice a week. So yeah, you might be getting some exercise, but you have more important things to worry about.
Yeah,
so
like-
it's not emphasised.
Do you think technology... We live in a very technology-driven space where everyone's doing the thumb workout.
Well, that's the thing. That was what I was just thinking of. That I thought, oh wow. Yeah, we really need to get the kids out more, and the reason why we're not is because of screen time. Screen time
Right.
is bad, and so there's all that guilt about putting screen in front of your child. But then I think back to my childhood. I was raised by my grandmother in Singapore, where we either had to do homework or because my grandmother didn't have the energy to keep up with me. I was raised by a television.
Yeah.
So I pretty much spent a lot of time in front of the TV. I had a lot of screen time. I don't think I'm overweight.
Yeah, you're wise. You're definitely not
Yes.
overweight, right?
So I think maybe we need to cut a bit more slack with, about how much active time we're giving our children, how much screen time we're giving our children, and just...
Yeah.
It's for me, it's the whole message. It's our diet, it's our exercise, it's us. Our whole lifestyles have changed. Once upon a time we were farmers,
working our
and we were
produce,
working
yes.
heavy and hard jobs. So we ate a lot. So now we're not. And I've said to my husband, you need to cut back on what you eat because your job's not physical.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Take it back to the islands. There's a diabetes dilemma going on in the islands because we used to do the hard labour and now we're just eating a lot of processed food, but not getting the same exercise. But I think we definitely need to be intentional about encouraging less screen time and more sun time, which is why coming up we have a short clip on kids and screen time. Check this out.
Hello, I'm Laura Laura Bennett. I don't know about you, but I didn't get my first phone until I was 12, and even then I had to share it with my sister, and it was a Nokia 5210. Now, though, phones and technology are in the hands of 5-year-olds. Bringing us some of the pros and cons of screen time, psychologist and parenting expert Colette Smart. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Technology now, it really is here to stay. So how do we navigate this in our homes and trying to find some kind of balance?
I think really it's about something that, a concept that is fairly new that was developed by a colleague of mine called digital nutrition. So it's really looking at our children's games, their apps, the media they follow, and thinking about it the same way we might actually think about nutritional labels on food. Because technology essentially it's neutral on its own. It's what's behind the technology or coming through those screens that we need to look at. So the same way we look at having lolly time or time we have at parties, we don't always eat cake every day, but occasional cake is okay. The same with entertainment media. It's all right to have fun with it. It's all right to be on some of those apps. And then, of course, some is poison. So being aware of that as well.
And you learn a lot of emotional behaviours through the technology and the kind of social medias particularly that you use. Can you explain a little bit about that, those kind of behaviours?
Yeah, so I think it's important to remember that technology is a very powerful teacher. We can't get away from that. And trying to think that we can separate the emotion from the social side, from the cognitive side, we're actually learning them all at once. So your child might be playing an incredibly violent game. They're learning fantastic visual spatial skills at the same time, but they're learning very poor social skills at the same time. So it's not just writing something off or thinking, oh, that's great, they're learning great visual spatial skills. What other aspects are they learning? So we've got to be quite discerning with what's available.
Yeah, really seeing the whole picture. And I guess for different age groups, there'd be different recommendations as to how much time they should really spend in front of a screen. What would you suggest?
Look, I always find that difficult. That's the question parents come to me after every seminar and say, but just tell me, please just give me a number.
Give me a rule.
So really, the World Health Organization is kind of saying 2 hours of entertainment media time per day. A lot of us are saying that's actually quite difficult and it's very problematic because more experts are saying it's time alone is a very poor indicator of what is good or not good with technology. Children might be spending an hour on Skype with grandma who lives overseas. Right. How is that bad? You know, that's not a bad thing to be doing. And they might be reading, they might be using an app for homework. You might be doing your banking as an adult. So it's really, time is a poor indicator. It goes back again to looking at the content. What is the content our children are engaging in?
So in order to teach them how to see the difference between, I guess, good and bad and set some sort of boundaries in place, what would you recommend?
So generally whatever boundaries you set as a parent with technology, there will be pushback. Just accept it. That is the way it is. But I say to parents, there's three areas. I say keep current, keep communicating, and keep checking. So really it's being aware of what's available, what your children are using, and then know the passwords, particularly for young children. Know their passwords, set age restrictions for apps and games that are appropriate. Read up on it. There's a lot of information online about what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate. Technology out of bedrooms, particularly at night, because of the issue with chronic sleep deprivation that we're seeing. And then switching off screens about an hour or two before children go to sleep. Balance screen time with green time. So make sure your children are getting out. Are they active? Are they engaging face-to-face with their friends as well as online? When someone is in front of you, they are more important than the person behind the screen. And that is for us as adults as well, I have to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's something we need to learn how to model as well.
Yeah. And then also, don't be afraid to have fun with it with your children. Don't lump the whole of technology into the bad basket. Sit with them, engage with them, play the games they're playing, talk with them about it. They become more open if they feel as though you're actually interested because it's their world.
Yeah. Colette, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can find more parenting tips and expert advice from Colette. Follow her at The Table TV show on Instagram and Facebook.
While some of us may thrive on stress, others report its negative effects on their health. Stress can lead to physical and mental health issues, and we all could do with some tips on how to stress less. So joining us now is author, podcaster and holistic health advocate, Dr. Ron Ehrlich. Welcome, Dr. Ron.
Thanks, Fiona.
Now, I know you have a philosophy about 5 stresses and the 5 pillars of health. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Sure. Look, I think most people today acknowledge that stress is a big part of their life. And I think in order to solve a problem, it helps to know what that problem is. So a model that I've used for the last 35 years is that stress is anything that compromises your immune system and challenges your health. And so looking at 5 stresses, they would include emotional, environmental, postural, nutritional, and dental stress. So they're the 5 stresses, and people say, well, we can talk about the dental stress, but they're the 5 stresses, and that's, once you've identified them, minimising them is the key, but you've got to know what they are first.
Well, I'm just thinking, like with mums, the stress would be the children. So how do you minimise it?
Well, that leads to the 5 pillars, and the key to dealing with those stresses is to build resilience. And in order to build resilience, again, it helps to know what you're working with. And so there are 5 areas that I believe you need to focus on, and that is sleep, breathe, nourish, move, and think. And so, you know, if we identify the stresses, we can minimise them. If we want to build resilience, we need to focus on the pillars of health.
I mean, you're talking to the preach, like we all know people say, as mums, get some sleep when you can.
Yeah.
But how do you apply that when that's really not the situation for a lot of mums?
Well, you know, I put sleep as the first pillar because it is without a doubt the most important. You know, and this applies to newborns as well as people of any age. A consistently good night's sleep is a function of both quantity, getting enough sleep, and for over 90% of us, that's 7 to 9 hours a night. And the second part is quality, breathing well while you're asleep. So, you know, there are keys to that. The first one is to prioritise it and recognise it for its importance. But for young families, as well as for everybody, routine is the key. And I remember when my daughter was born, and she's now 32 years old, the best advice I ever received was from a paediatrician who said, the thing you have to do is to teach your child to sleep. And of course...
How do you do that?
Well, that's a good question.
How do you do that?
And we ignored that.
Because they're thirsty. They're hungry.
Well, that's exactly it.
Come sleep time.
And that is exactly it. You need to backtrack into good sleep hygiene and understand what that is. And that's a function of routine, of food and drink, of light, of noise. But it's a routine. And you need to stick with it. I mean, with young kids, and we've now got a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old grandchild, that is also, I'm aware of the challenge. But that is the key. Sleep is an important pillar.
And even the environment. So maybe turning the lights off, some practical tips. Turning lights off.
We need darkness.
Quiet time.
We need darkness. We need a cool room. We need no noise. We need to not be exposed to screen time. I know you were talking about screen time, but the blue light from screens affects our melatonin, and that affects our ability to sleep, not to mention being really wired. You know, being wired before you, literally, mentally, physically being wired before you go to sleep is not conducive to a good night's sleep. So this is why prioritising it and developing a good sleep hygiene is really important.
Can I ask, so I definitely agree that these pillars are fundamentally important to stress. But if you have 2 people and they are both sleeping well, eating well, doing everything that they can, you put them in a situation, one might thrive and the other might have a nervous breakdown, you know? So what is it that differentiates people? Like, obviously it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing as well. And how can we adopt that kind of a positive mindset in situations? Yeah,
well, you know, one of the things about health, I often said that the health is really simple apart from 2 variables, and that is the people are individuals, small point, and everyone reacts differently, and your health practitioner is also an individual, so the advice you receive is always a bit different and confusing. So it is a question of how different people respond to different situations, and I guess that is a personal thing, but that is why building resilience is so important. If you've had a consistently good night's sleep, then you will be feeling emotionally a lot more resilient to deal with the stresses of modern life. If you've missed out on sleep, you won't.
How can you build that resilience? that you talk about?
Well, again, I think the focusing on the 5 pillars is the key, and it's a work in progress. You know, I mean, I'm aware of all of these things, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm perfect. I know that may surprise you, but you know, so you know, that's a work in progress for all of us through our lives. It needs constant vigilance, and sometimes you fall off, you know, the wagon, and you've got to get back on again, and you've got to be listening to your body. I think that's really important.
And that's so important because you actually mention about our dental health as well.
And postural as well.
And
that
postural.
Was really
And breathing. I loved the micropore. I loved it.
Well, okay, how long have we got? How long have we got? Well, the dental. Okay, very quickly. People say I include dental stress because my background is dentistry. I don't. I mean, that's one reason, but I include it for anybody with a mouth who is interested in their health and hasn't fully connected the two. And the connections between oral health and general health are profound. So that's the dental aspect of it, and we could talk for hours.
So we should take care of our teeth. We should
absolutely. This is
to our dentist.
This is about chronic infections, chronic inflammations. It's about sleeping. It's about breathing. It's about digestion. It's about a whole range of things. So it's much more than just are you brushing or flossing.
Right.
So there's dental stresses there as well. You are talking about breathing, and you know, one of the things that we talk about, I ask often, is do you get up at night to go to the bathroom? Or for children, bedwetting is another issue.
Right.
And
is that a sign of stress, is it?
It's a sign of dysfunctional breathing. In many cases, and it's often overlooked.
Right.
So you know, we had a patient that had been bedwetting. They're 12 years old, and they'd been to see a urologist, neurologist, psychologist. They've been through thousands of dollars worth of treatment. And we recommended the use of micropore tape on the mouth at night to just promote nasal breathing, and that solved their problem. That's about balancing out body chemistry.
That was really interesting when I was reading that.
And you were talking about the postural.
Yeah, postural.
Yeah, postural. Well, posture is a big one. And if you ever are in a public place, I catch the train to and from work sometimes, everybody is looking down.
Oh, so true.
And suddenly when you take a 4-kilo head and you put it at that kind of angle, the 4-kilo head becomes about 25 kilos.
Yeah.
So that puts a tremendous postural stress on muscles and airway. Even the way we sleep is a postural stress. Sleeping on your stomach is the worst position to sleep
Is that
in.
right?
Yes.
Should you sleep on your back or on your side,
Well,
especially as pregnant women?
Yes, side is actually the best. It's the best for a whole range of reasons. Digestion is better, breathing is better, actual mental health is better, believe it or not. So postural stress, and I even include in postural stress how we sit on the toilet, but that's a whole other Well, it is true. It is true. I mean, for literally hundreds of thousands of years, we've squatted. And after, I think it was Queen Elizabeth I, she came up with the first toilet, and that was a great development. And toilets are great. I'm not criticising toilets, but the way we sit on them is also a stress. So there's a whole range of stresses that are involved in postural stress.
So important. Thank you, Dr. Ron. If you want to know how to sit on toilet properly or more tips on stressing less, hit us up on Mums at the Table. But ladies, thank you for the chat. Thank you, Dr. Ron, again. And thank you at home for tuning in. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe if you're watching us at home. Have a great week. Until next time, God bless.